Here we are at the home of Xtreme Clutch. Today we'll be going through a brief overview of a popular installation. The base car for today's installation is a Mitsubishi EVO 7. This particular car has over 250 kilowatts at the wheels and is primarily a track day and hill climb car. Clutch of choice for this application and power level is the Xtreme Carbon Blade product, which you will see later in this short video. Removal of the gearbox and subsequent removal of the existing clutch is done via removal of the wheels, the battery, the airbox and intake pipes, associated pipework and wiring above the gearbox, as well as the gear shift selector cables and other obtrusive components located above the gearbox, including the clutch hydraulics. We are choosing to remove the steering rack and cross member in this particular remove and refit job. It may require a little more work, but certainly makes things a lot easier. Under the car, the exhaust is removed and all necessary bolts removed to facilitate removal of the steering rack and cross member. At the same time, the bell housing bolts can be removed from the gearbox. Steering tie rod ends are removed and the whole assembly is loosened from the body in readiness to lower it from the vehicle. Drive shaft retaining nuts are removed from the wheel hubs, and it's important to note that the universal joint on the steering column inside the car has been marked with a paint marker prior to disconnection. It is important to reconnect this in the straight ahead position when doing the refit. Power steering lines and associated connections to the steering rack must also be removed prior to lowering it on a hydraulic lift. Now that the rack and cross member have been removed from the vehicle, there is significant more room to remove the transfer case and then the gearbox itself, so as to gain access to the clutch. The drive shafts can be removed at this time, and then the small spud shafts removed from the transfer case. This may require a small puller as shown. At this point in time there may be a small amount of gearbox fluid lost, which will need to be replaced on installation. The transfer case itself contains lubricating fluid which can be difficult to fill. It is often a good idea to fill this prior to refitment should excessive fluid be lost during the removal process. ACD lines that carry fluid to the centre diff are best clamped off to avoid air bubbles and fluid loss. On refit, refer to a factory Mitsubishi workshop manual for correct active centre diff or ACD bleeding instructions. We can now safely and easily remove the gearbox from the engine. Following this, the clutch can then be removed. In this case, the flywheel is blued up, showing evidence of excessive heat and clutch slip. It is removed for machining, or in this case, we've decided it is below specification for machining, and we will use an Xtreme chromoly lightened flywheel as a replacement. The Xtreme Carbon Blade kit comprises of a pressure plate, thrust bearing, and the actual carbon blade plate itself. The Xtreme flywheel is also shown here. The most significant point of difference with this clutch, apart from the carbon material, is the light pedal feel whilst delivering outstanding clamp loading that exceeds 1,650 kilograms of clamping force. The clutch unit that was removed from this vehicle is also comparatively heavier than the new Xtreme unit we are fitting. This delivers better engine response and faster gear shifting with the new Xtreme unit. Now we are ready to install our Xtreme clutch. Installation is basically a reversal of the removal procedure. We will start with the removal and fitment of the replacement thrust bearing before moving on to the flywheel fitment and then the clutch fitment. Flywheel bolts must be correctly torqued during the installation as per the factory manual. Then, an alignment tool is used to centre the clutch plate prior to the pressure plate fitment. These are also available from Xtreme Clutch. The pressure plate bolts must be tightened evenly and firmly to factory specifications. Xtreme can supply motorsport fasteners to replace the factory bolts if required. The gearbox, transfer case, drive shaft, steering and associated componentry is then refitted as it was removed and as per the factory manual. The Xtreme Carbon Clutch is now ready to endure hard launching and serious motorsport duties without the risk of slippage, welding or failure, all whilst delivering the factory pedal effort. Visit www.xtremeclutch.com.au for more information on Australasia's largest range of performance clutch.